Good afternoon, folks. Robert Chappell here, Executive Editor of Madison365 with your daily update for Monday, January 24th. The news today, I thought we would continue our trend, our downward trend, our everything looking better trend. And it's actually better than I thought it would be in most measures today. Our 7-day average of confirmed cases is the biggest drop. We were at 17,600 something on Friday, and now we're at 11,127. The reason for that is last Monday we had that big data dump where the state changed the way it was reporting the data. So as a result of that 1-day change, we had 35,000 cases reported in one day, which normally would have been spread out over 3 or 4 days. So that inflated that 7-day average. Now last Monday has fallen off the 7 days, and now we're down to 11,127, which is still, to be clear, a ridiculously high number, right? 11,127 cases per day in the past 7 days. Even 6 months ago, that would have been bonkers to even talk about, right? But we kind of peaked in real terms in about 15,000 cases per day, and then we jumped up to over 18,000 because of that one weird day. And now we're back to 11,000. Now that also includes only 5,042 cases today. Again, I say only 4,000. Mondays are always lower. There's not as much testing or processing on the weekends, right? But still, 5,000 cases is a lot. It would have been that would have been a lot even a couple months ago. Now the positive test rate also continues to come down, although not as sharply. It's at 25.1 today, which is outrageously high, but it's not 30%, which is where we were 2 weeks ago. Okay, so still 1 in 4 tests are coming back positive. That's not good, but the trend is downward. Where the really good news is hospitalizations. And if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'm happy to address those as best I can. But we're back below 2,000 people. In fact, 1,930 people currently hospitalized. That's down 317 in the past week. Which is what, like a 15% decrease in the past week, which is good news. A lot of people are being discharged from the hospital and not being replaced by more admissions. ICU population similarly down to 391. That's 61 lower than a week ago, which is close to 20% decrease. Frankly, no, it's not. It's more like 15%. Sorry, I was an English major. Math not my thing. Okay, 102 ICU beds available. Far more than we've had recently. Still not enough. There's still a lot of shortage of hospital space, especially like in emergency departments. These numbers are just about admissions. This doesn't really tell you what the conditions are like in the emergency room, which is still really tough and really bad in some spots. But in terms of admissions, things are getting much better, which means that there's just not as many cases, and the cases that we're getting are not as severe and not as sending people to the hospital quite as often. The one number that remains a lot on the high side to me, is the death average, which is today 31 per day. That's equal to heart disease daily death rate, which is the leading cause of death in Wisconsin and everywhere else in the country. So that's still very high. That's only 3 new confirmed deaths yesterday. Again, it's unfortunate that we get human life coming down to paperwork, but that's basically what it is. Like, somebody dies, and then 3 or 4 weeks later, the death certificate gets confirmed and uploaded into the data, and then we get reported it. So there's not as much reporting on the weekends. I would anticipate more deaths being reported tomorrow rather. Sorry, and I would anticipate that daily death average going up a bit tomorrow. I would anticipate that also by the end of the month, it will be in the 40s or even the 50s. Just based on the number of cases we saw earlier in the month. Even though we seem to have turned the corner now on cases, the deaths will continue to go up because the deaths that are being reported now actually happened a month ago during the upsurge in cases, right? So we'll have that kind of echo effect. So that's it. I mean, the news, for the most part, very good today. all the numbers. I mean, I say it's very good, but I say that with the caveat that the numbers are all very bad still. Right? There's a lot of virus out there. There's a lot of Omicron out there. If you're not vaccinated, what are you doing? Get vaccinated. If you're not wearing a mask, wear a mask. Get your booster if you can. We got to kind of stick to this for a couple more weeks so we can ride this downward wave back to more acceptable, tolerable levels of infection. And we do also see, at least in Dane County here, and across the state, college campuses starting up again this week. Some, I guess, started last week, but the big ones are starting this week. UW Madison starting tomorrow. We last fall and the fall before that, we did see an increase in cases when students came back, right? So we'll see if that prompts an upsurge, at least locally in the vicinity of those campuses. But overall, it looks to me like we've peaked and we're on our way down. We'll see. We've been optimistic before and been proven wrong, so we'll wait and see. That's the COVID information. Let's take a short pause. We'll be right back with more local news for you and national news a little bit right after this. All right, I want to recommend that you give a listen to Black Oxygen, which is our weekly podcast hosted by Angela Russell. Today's guest, Nikita Ray from the Ebony Eyes Foundation. She's the founder of the Ebony Eyes Foundation, raising awareness for pancreatic cancer. The season 5 of Black Oxygen is dealing with grief and mourning, and a lot of really good conversations in that podcast every Monday. And I'm mentioning it also because I told you a couple months ago I won an award, a Wisconsin Innovation Award in the nonprofit category, and it's getting some recognition statewide. But also there's a new thing, and I'll have a story on this up in the morning, tomorrow morning at Madison365.org. There's a beverage company up in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, called Siren Shrub, that is coming out with a special limited edition cacao nib flavor for Black History Month, and they're branding it sort of as a Black Oxygen special product for a 1-month thing. They're making a special limited edition run. All the proceeds will go to sponsor Black Oxygen for Black History Month. So it's a really cool partnership. It's really fun. It's called Siren Shrub. You can look at check Madison365.org tomorrow morning for more details on that and where you can get it. It's available in Madison. Really, the only place to get it is Willie Street Co-op. But there's on their website, there's a list of places you can get it across the state. All right. Also today, we have a preview of the African American Health Network and their Be Black, Be Strong event coming up on Saturday. They really wanted to go in person this year, but just can't do it. So they're going to be virtual this Saturday, noon to 1:30. All sorts of health and wellness information, as well as cooking demonstrations and cooking tips, and some visit from some historical figures from Black history, especially in the Black medical field. Also today out of Milwaukee, we learned that Danae Davis has been named interim executive director of 88.9 Radio Milwaukee, the nonprofit radio station there in Milwaukee. Their previous executive director, who just took over last year, has moved on to another opportunity. The board is going to undertake a proper search for a director, and Danae Davis will be the executive director. In the meantime, she'll continue to be she'll continue in her current role as a oh dang it, I'm going to forget now. I know her as CEO of Pearls for Teen Girls, which is like two jobs ago now. She is executive director of Milwaukee Succeeds, a nonprofit focused on improving educational outcomes. She was on our Black Power list, our second Black Power list back in 2016. One of the, at that time, 44 most influential Black leaders in Wisconsin. And we'll be taking the helm along with her current job at Milwaukee Succeeds, running the radio station there at 88.9. Also today, finally, one last note here in national news and male news, if you like. The Black and Indigenous sculptor Edmonia Lewis is getting a stamp. I'm going to take my little thing off here so you can see the whole thing. Her marble sculptures in the 19th century really brought her international acclaim as an artist. As I mentioned, she's both Black and Indigenous, and all of her works are now held by the Smithsonian, but she now has a forever stamp issued by the U.S. Postal Service today, and CNN has that story at Madison365.org right now. All right, that's what I have for you today. We'll have the podcast in the morning. If you want to listen to that, it's only 10 minutes, wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll have more news for you. Hope to see continued good news on the COVID front. We'll like to see things falling and dropping and getting better. So maybe by summer, we can kind of talk about living normally again. And until then, have a wonderful evening. Stay warm. It's going to get chilly on Wednesday. So, if you've been putting off the plastic on the windows and stuff, do that now. Until then, have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon.
This is 365 Media.